Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever or wherever you're listening to us or watching us. This is the Awesemo Nhl Dfs Strategy Show, and I'm your host, Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy. Jumping into Michael Keaton's Batmobile with me to take down tonight's Joker prizes is our single entry superhero, Josh Harris. Joshua Harris, how you doing today, bud?
Want to know how I got these scars? Stacking abs one.
Yeah, that might have been a scar-inducing incident, let's call it, last night. Yeah, let's just jump into last night's slate right away. It was a crazy slate as the Blues absolutely went nuclear, 9-1 over Minnesota, but then the Golden Knights put up a 7th spot in the late game, and then the Sharks, they didn't get their like full lines, but Brent Burns had a big night. I think Thomas Hertl had a decent night as well, so some Sharks had a good night. Everybody but Colorado won, it seems, had a good night last night, so not a good night for the Avs. But like I think it kind of goes to show, like, you don't have to slant. Like, we talk about how good Colorado 1 is, and they are elite, like one of the best lines in hockey. And Colorado is probably the best team in hockey right now. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to score 5 goals every single game.
Yeah, and then Jonas Johansson getting out of Buffalo, shutting out. I mean, it's the Ducks. Like, my dog could shut out the Ducks, but like, he's looked good in the 3 games he's played for Colorado. So, and you see these players getting out of Buffalo, and they're reviving their career. So maybe Jonas Johansson, props to the Avs scouting department for taking the worst goalie that John Vogel's ever seen and turning him into someone decent.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if he's piling up wins, then it's something. I mean, you can't really complain about that. Pittsburgh 1 had a pretty good night last night, if I'm not mistaken. Crosby and Rust both had 3-point nights. Washington, like, I want to talk about the Caps just for a minute. It's getting kind of hard to use them, like to stack them as full lines, just because I think you and Jake mentioned on the show yesterday, guys like, Oshie and Vrana just aren't, Vrana especially, just aren't getting huge amounts of ice time. Kuznetsov skating with Ovechkin at 5-on-5, but not on the power play anymore. What do you do with the Caps when they have lines like this? They're just tough to play right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a notorious Caps fader, like I am with the Penguins, so I kind of ignore them almost. Like, I don't, like, obviously I go through the games and all that kind of stuff, but like OV 9100, I mean, I don't know. There's like, when he's on a slate with McKinnon and Matthews and all those guys, like, I'll look to them just because, like, the Caps have been as good as they were a few months ago. They've looked pretty bad recently.
Yeah, they haven't really looked good like for like a month now. So a little bit of a concern, considering that playoffs are only a month away. And I see in chat, Daniel Demers says, new to NHL DFS, took down first place last night in the DK 1K quarter jukebox. Thank you for the videos. I've learned so much. Always happy to do this. Happy to see our viewers and subscribers win. Congrats to you, Daniel. That's how you build a bankroll. When you get new to a sport, you start low, you build up, and eventually you get to the bigger entries. So keep on grinding. Good stuff there. And Carter Bloom says, O'Reilly hat-trick was huge. Took down first in the dime time. Had a ton of St. Louis 1. Yeah, a tons of St. Louis 1. Definitely would have won you some money last night. So congrats to Carter Blooms. And Dustin Dromerecki, subscriber in our Slack chat earlier, he finished second in the sticks last night. He's still looking to bank it. That's I think that's been a couple top 5 finishes for him in the sticks this year. He's knocking on the door. He'll get there eventually. And I got a DM on Twitter from someone else saying that they banked one of the low dollar 3 maxes last night. So we had, it seems like a lot of people had good nights last night. I even won money last night. I was telling you, I've changed up my strategy a little bit. I've started playing fewer lines, and it's actually turned my season around over the last 10 days or so. So, hey, man, spring's here. People are getting vaccinated. People are winning money. It is just a great time of year. Love to be talking hockey. We still have a month of regular season left. Let's keep winning some money. And while you guys are here, while I have you, if you could, one way to really help us out here is just to throw a like and especially subscribe if you like what we do here. Really helps us grow the channel, keeps these shows coming. You know, we've already had 2 or 3 shows today. Our producer Tyler, I think, is on his 3rd hour of shows already. It's just you know, we keep the shows coming to you guys. If you could just drop us a subscribe, help us grow this channel. And if you're not able to watch your favorite Awesemo shows on YouTube, almost all of our Awesemo YouTube shows are available through the Awesemo Podcast Network. We've got a podcast for every sport, and we're available on every major platform. So head on over to awesemo.com/podcast to check out the latest. Just leave a 5-star review on one of our podcasts with your Twitter handle or email address, and you'll be eligible to win a free week of Awesemo Plus Platinum. One winner will be awarded every Friday, and reviews will be eligible to win for up to 1 year. So good luck on that. And like anytime you guys win some money, feel free to send your screenshots to us, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's a DM through Twitter, whether you're a subscriber and you send it to us through Slack. We love to see those screenshots. We could even throw them up on the Awesemo Hall of Fame Twitter account. So you guys win some money, throw us some screenshots. Let's all work together here. All right, WrestleMania Saturday. I am stoked, Josh. I know you're not exactly a big wrestling guy, but I am incredibly excited. I know the viewers can't really see, but I'm wearing my Sasha Banks ugly Christmas sweater. There is, I think there's some wrestling on DraftKings tonight. Is it tonight or tomorrow night?
It's on FanDuel, I think.
Oh, it's on FanDuel. That's right. It's on FanDuel tonight. So if you want to get into a little bit of WrestleMania action over on FanDuel, just head over there. They got stuff for like kickouts and reversals and all that stuff. So WrestleMania weekend, gotta love it. But we're here to talk hockey, so let's get to that. Let's get to our first game of the night. We have the Detroit Red Wings with a 2.0 implied goal total going into Carolina. Carolina still has a 3.5 goal total. Detroit's still expecting guys like Fabry and Ryan and all them to still be out. I think I might have a sneaky line in this game, so I'm going to wait to give my thoughts on this. What are your thoughts here, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, you see these total, like Detroit Red Wings 2. It's top 3 lowest total of the season. I know the Devils had like a 1.9 at one point, which is just ridiculous. But I would imagine the Stahl, Martinook, Fogle line is probably going to get the Larkin line. Could be a Trocheck, but more likely Stahl. So that frees up the Aho, Svechnikov, Fost line to get some depth matchups on the wings. I really like that line. We don't have ownership up on the site yet, but you know they're fairly cheap with Fost being 2,900. The Svech Aho combo is 12-1, so they're 15K as a line. It's very, very. So I don't want to say cheap, but for a top line, 15K is pretty cheap. They're going to get depth of Detroit, who haven't been great. Like they're not terrible, but they haven't been very good. Like if they get Fipple, Rasmussen, Mantha, or Nemestikov, Smith, Nielsen, like those lines, you want to attack them. So I think Aho, Svech, Fost, leave Fast on. I think that full line makes sense. And you don't have to talk me into using that second line, Trocheck, Netchus, and Niederreiter. It's been my favorite Canes line on the season. The power play correlation isn't great, and Trocheck price being 7,300, the 3rd most expensive center on DraftKings tonight is wild. Like I don't know, he might go under owned because of that. I don't want to conjecture on the ownership there, but that line is more pricier than the top line, so you might get them at lower ownership. But I do like the top line as well. And then on the Detroit side, if you want a little bit of Detroit 1, I guess that's okay, like in MME, but I'm kind of off them. If you want to one-off a Mantha, you want to one-off an Adam Ernie if you think he's going to have another hat trick, sure. But really, as a whole, I'll probably be under the field on Detroit, and this is a Carolina game for me.
Yeah, I agree with you that it's a Carolina game. The one thing I will say is that I have a little bit of interest in that Detroit top line, and I think you said it properly that it's probably only an MME play. If I were to get 1 to 3 lineups, it probably wouldn't be in my mix. This is the reason I would at least be tempted to play Detroit 1. They're not a terrible line. They've had a small sample together, like 2.2 expected goals per 60 minutes, which is about league average. That's fine. But when Jordan Stahl probably will get the matchup here, Stahl and Fogle and whomever. When Jordan Stahl has been playing away from Andrei Svechnikov this year, He's gone down to 2.2 expected goals per 60, 2.6 expected goals against per 60 minutes, 45.6% expected goal share. Without Svechnikov on his line, Stahl's been flat out bad. And like that's the thing here is like, okay, let's assume I'm right and the Stahl line has been bad. That doesn't necessarily mean the Detroit top line is going to be good in this game, right? And that's the problem here. Like if we had a top line, if we had old Detroit one like Bertuzzi, Larkin, Mantha, I would probably play them, just flat play them. But, you know, with Zadina there, with Svechnikov there, it's not quite the same. So if I was in 150, then yeah, I would probably get, you know, 5 or 6 Detroit ones, and I think you'll be at or above the field, and then that'd be fine. 1 to 3, I'd probably stay away from them. Honestly, I think like we'll see where the ownership comes. I imagine Svechnikov and Aho is going to be the chalkiest line of the two between them and the Trocheck Natchez Niederreiter. So I'd be tempted to do something like a Natchez Niederreiter like Pesci, you know, PP2 stack or something like that, because I think Carolina is probably going to carry a lot of ownership here tonight. So if you want to get different, that's the way I would do it. You could leave Trocheck off and not worry about that 7,300 price. Roster the 2 wingers, throw the defenseman, and you got your PP2 stack right there. So I think that's one option, but I do think the best play flat out of this game is that Svechnikov's Aho duo. And yeah, like you said, you can throw Fost in there. He's definitely not just some random one-off. He is actually good. Forgot to mention Jake Gardner probably playing tonight. He'll probably be on the 3rd pair in place of Hayden Fleury. Not that really changes a whole lot for us. Just want to mention that. But let's talk about those blue liners. Anything, I don't think like we're really playing any Detroit defensemen. I can't remember the last time I rostered a Detroit defenseman, so I'm off of them. Anything on the Carolina side for you?
Yeah, I mean, so would you rather pay 7,300 for Vincent Trocheck or 7,500 for Dougie Hamilton? So I think if I'm paying up in like a power play stack, I'd put in Hamilton over Trocheck, just because Hamilton's going to get the minutes, you know. So, I mean, Trocheck's going to see minutes too, but I would imagine Dougie sees more. So I'd pay the extra 200 for Dougie. If you have room for Dougie, I think you put him in. He's not someone I'm going to prioritize just because 7,500 is a wild price, and there is some very good expensive spots tonight. So maybe in, you know, like a mid-range build, if you can get in Dougie, I think he may actually go a little bit under-owned because, you know, there's the Torontos, you got Edmonton, you got some really expensive spots. It's really hard to fit Dougie. So if you're not going to go Dougie, I think, you know, Brett Pesci for the second power play makes sense. If you want to punt with Brady Shea, I think that is also okay.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Hamilton comes in a little lower owned than he would normally be in a matchup against Detroit at home, just because, like you said, Toronto and Edmonton, and then you can add like a Winnipeg power play stack or a Chicago stack can get expensive. So yeah, he could come in a little lower owned. So that might be one way to get different if you're worried about, you know, that Aho Svechnikov ownership, is to make sure you get Hamilton in there with them. Don't mind that at all. In goal, I don't know. That seems like a lot of money to pay for Carolina goalie at home, 8,500 regardless of who starts. Do you have any leans here?
I'm not paying 8,500 for any goalie because, especially against Detroit, where shot volume might be an issue, and if he doesn't get like a 36 save shutout, he's not going to hit the value, especially with these expensive lines. Like if you told me he's going to get a 27 save shutout, maybe I'll put him in. But if he gives up 1 goal, his value is completely busted at 8,500. And then Bernier or Grice, whatever it is, at 6,800. Yeah, you can consider it because, you know, the Hurricanes do put up a lot of shots. He's not going to be a priority for me though.
Yeah, I probably would play Bernier if he was confirmed. Like 6,800, I'll play any goalie at that price in almost any matchup. I'm not sure I'd go down to Grice, but Bernier, I think, would definitely be in my mix. All right, let's get to the next game. Chicago, with a 2.8 implied goal total, is going into Columbus, and the Jackets have a 2.7 implied goal total. Jackets news, Boone Jenner was out last game. He's going to be out for a while with a broken finger, I think it is. They're holding Nick Foligno out. It looks like he's going to be traded. And Zach Werenski underwent surgery. He's out for the season. So 2/3 of their checking line and their best defensemen are suddenly out of the lineup. And this was a bad defensive team to begin with. We have Chicago going into Columbus. One thing to note, Chicago ran some crazy power play drills yesterday. And the top line power play was Kane, Kubelik, Kurashev, Hinostroza and Soderberg, 5 forwards, including a guy that they just brought in Hinostroza and a guy that has been healthy scratch of late in Soderberg. That's interesting to me because that puts both Kirby Dach and Alex DeBrincat on the second line. So that kind of changes things here. Chicago, not a great defensive team in their own right. So maybe there might be some interest on something for Columbus here. What do you have, Josh?
Yeah, so with these injuries, I think people are going to flock. I don't know, flock, but like there's going to be ownership on this Chicago top line. I think it's fine. Who knows what they're going to do on their power play, but if it is what they did on the practice one, the top line is going to be a bit off balance on the power play, but I still think you can go to the top line here. It's going to be popular. DeBrincat, Dach, Kane. It's by far their best line. Kubalik on the top power play always is going to pique my interest, 4,900. He's on a line with Hinostroza, who is also supposedly on power play 1. So I like that line as well. I think all 3 lines, honestly, are in play for the Blackhawks. Soderberg, Suter, Strome. You can go there as well. Obviously, the most ownership is going to be on that top line, but I really like this Kubalik, Kurashev, Hinostroza line. They're going to get not Seth Jones, most likely. Yeah, maybe they won't see Line A, but like with Foligno out, with Jenner out, with these guys hurt, the depth of the Blue Jackets is pretty compromised. So I think you can go to the depth of the Blackhawks here. And normally I'm off the Blackhawks, the Jackets with, a Torts coach team. But I think there is some merit to going to Line A, Dome, Bjorkstrand tonight, just because like Lankinen has been bailing out the Blackhawks. Like he's hiding their defensive inefficiencies right now. So as much as I hate using the Jackets, I think, that top line is so cheap and they're probably going to be under-owned just because, one, it's the Blackhawks, or it's the Blue Jackets, it's Torts. There's so many injuries. I think people are just going to gloss over that game and be like, they suck. So I think, there is some merit to going to that top line. Even that second line, Roslovic, Atkinson, Greg Rugenko, he's on the top power play at min price. So I think, there is some spots on the Jackets that just are going to get overlooked. And I think you can definitely put them into your MME mix. And maybe even like 1 to 3, I would consider Bjorkstrand, Domi, Line just from an offensive standpoint. I know they're bad defensively, but the Blackhawks have been struggling really bad defensively recently. So I think there's some stuff on both sides that you can play in this game. Even at a 5.5 total, it's kind of odd.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that Domi Bjorkstrand line. I think that'd be the line I'd go to for Columbus. I was looking at some of the numbers for like other pairings in their depth. Roslovic and Atkinson on the ice this year, 1.8 expected goals for, 2.5 expected goals against, 42% expected goal share. Eric Robinson and Alex Tessier on the ice without Nick Foligno, who's not playing tonight. Remember, 2.1 expected goals for, 3.2 expected goals against per 60 minutes, 40.3% expected goal share. That's just terrible. Those are just terrible numbers. And I don't know why Columbus's numbers would get any better with all the injuries that they have. So that's why, like, I would probably go to that Bjorkstrand line. Like, Bjorkstrand has been their only consistent player all year, I would say. So I think that makes sense. That'd be the only place you can go to. The thing I would say about Chicago is watch warmups, because they had brand new lines in the third period last game. They went to Brinkat, Dach, Strome, and then Janmark, Suter, Kane. Now Janmark is out tonight. They're holding him out because they're probably going to trade him. So it could be like Soderberg, Suter, Kane or something like that. But they did break up the Brinkat and Kane. Now, the reason that's a problem is the Brinkat and Kane may not play together at 5-on-5. That's what they did last game. And judging by their power play from yesterday's practice, they're not going to play together on the power play either. So that's kind of where I'm coming in tough to stack Chicago tonight. Is I want to play DeBrincat and Kane together, but they're not together at 5-on-5. They may not be together at 5-on-5. We don't really know yet. And they're probably not going to be together on the power play. So like, I'm pretty much out on Chicago here tonight, at least until warmups. Like I'm going to wait till warmups and see what those lines are, because if Kane and DeBrincat are on different lines in warmups, they might be on different lines at 5-on-5 and on the power play. And at that point, I probably just stay away from Chicago entirely. So this is a case where I may end up with nothing, no stacks from this game, depending on what Chicago looks like. in warm-up. On the blue line, like with Adam Bachvist off the top PP unit, I think his value's pretty much dried up. I think with Zach Werenski out, Seth Jones probably plays almost 30 minutes a night from now on, so I guess he's in. Is there anybody else that jumps out?
Not really. I mean, Mikko Lehtinen power play too. I don't know about his minutes. Like if you could guarantee me 15 minutes at min price, maybe, but who knows what Torts is going to do. So really from this game, Seth Jones on the Jacket side. If I had to use somebody on the Hawks, it'd be in that top pair. If you want to spend up a little bit, Connor Murphy, 4,700 is a bit expensive for him, or Nikita Zadorov at 2,600. But other than that, I'm looking elsewhere.
Yeah, I think Murphy's getting a little bit expensive for my taste. I would probably dump down to Zadorov instead. In goal, either of those guys jumping out to you at their price, like Lankinen 7,500, Korpisalo 78. Those are fine, but
I think is Merzlikins confirmed? I think he was confirmed. I'm not sure.
Yes, he was confirmed. Sorry, thanks for that. Yeah.
So I mean, I like playing under 7,000 Merzlikins. At 7,600, it does worry me a little bit because Werenski's out. The injuries, like they're just so bad defensively. If he was like 6,900, I'd be way more inclined to play him just because the shot volume is going to be there because they have no one defensively. But at 7,600, I would keep him in just correlated Blue Jackets lineups. And Lankinen at 7,500 on the road on a injured Columbus team, like I worry about the volume a little bit. So I probably just play him in correlated lineups and look elsewhere for my one-offs.
Yep, I'm completely good with that. Masters is underway, and shout out to Saul in chat for putting me on Justin Rose. So I bet Justin Rose is an outright before the tournament. So at least I got a little sweat this weekend. The Masters is underway, but you can still grab a free month of Awesemo Plus Golf, which will cover the PGA Championship. So make sure to grab 2 months of Awesemo Plus Golf for the price of one with the promo code Dustin. That's 60 days of Awesemo Plus Golf for $29.95, and that includes projections, ownership projections, our top golfers tool, our lineup builder, and a whole lot more. If golf isn't your thing, that's okay. You can grab an Awesemo Plus Platinum weekly pass, which covers all DFS sports for that same price of $29.95. Stop guessing, start winning. Join Awesemo Plus today. Get 2 months of Awesemo Plus Golf for the price of one for $29.95 with the promo code Dustin. All right. Getting to the game that might carry the most ownership, at least for one side, we have the Ottawa Senators with a 2.3 implied goal total. They're going into Toronto. The Leafs have a 4.2 implied goal total. Now, before we get too far into this, I want to give the season series between these two teams. Ottawa is 3-3-1 against the Leafs with 23 goals for and 26 goals against. So only -3 in 7 games played. Now, what's concerning is that these two teams are still at the complete opposite ends of the talent spectrum. So I think, I don't want to rely on Ottawa just really giving it their all just to keep this game close. So I think that 4.2 on Toronto is justified. What do you have in this game, Josh?
I mean, how many of those 7 games were with like Freddie and Hutchinson in that?
Yeah.
Campbell is their bona fide starting goalie. If any Leafs fans want to argue with me, you're going to lose. Did they mix up their lines though? Is Galchenyuk on the top line? And
Galchenyuk's on the top line now, so that changes things a little bit.
Yeah, that's kind of odd, but I think that's going to raise their ownership because Galchenyuk's 2,900 cheaper than Hyman. They're both on the second power play, so I think that's going to raise the ownership on Toronto 1. They're going to get the Chuck Norris line, but that doesn't really concern me. I think what I want to do in this game is maybe I want a power play stack, but Morgan Riley doesn't do much for me. So maybe what I would do is do a double center stack, like a Tavares, Matthews, Marner. I know it's expensive. You can add in Galchenyuk to bring the price down if you want, or even put in Spezza. He's kind of like the Chiasson of the Leafs. But he's on the top power play unit, so what I want to really do, honestly, is to get different in the ownership. Is if I was making 5 to 10 lineups, most of my Toronto would be double centered with Tavares, Matthews. just to, get a little bit of different build, because that top line is going to be super chalky. That second line is going to be chalky. I kind of like the second line, though, too, from a 5-on-5 standpoint. Tavares, Hyman, Mikheyev. I'll just call him Soup, make it easier. I think you can go to that second line as well. But if you really want that power play correlation, I think going double center is a way to get different. Not many people want to, tie up 15-2 from center on one team, leaving you with one center spot. So you can go, Leafs 1, you can go Leafs 2. You can power play stack, put in Riley. I think, my main focus is going to be getting Tavares and Matthews and Marner in together. That's going to be a unique way to get Toronto. And then on the Senators side, it's kind of tough here. I want to use Stützle and Batherson, but they don't have a center like Michael Amadio. I don't know much about him. The Leafs defensively have been better. Campbell's their best goalie. I think, if you want to one-off Kachuk or two-man Stützle Batherson, you can. But really, I think I'm going to be off the Sens tonight. I know the season series has been close, but this Leafs team with Campbell is just a different animal, I think. So I think it's all Leafs for me.
Okay. I need to talk about Michael Amadio here for a second. Okay. Michael Amadio is the guy that's going to be centering Stützle and Batherson. Chris Tierney was there before, and anybody that has watched this show knows what I think of Chris Tierney, and it's that I don't think much of Chris Tierney. Not anymore, anyway. Once a good player, not anymore. Over the last 3 years, Chris Tierney is at or more than one standard deviation worse than the league average, driving expected goals or allowing expected goals against. He's bad, just real bad. Michael Amadio is actually slightly above average in both regards. So it's a big improvement. Just going from bad to average is a big improvement for the Ottawa Senators. So that's one point I'll say in favor of Michael Amadio. The other is that in his last 3 years in Los Angeles, 70th percentile by controlled zone entries and 80th percentile by shot assists, which are passes that lead to shots in the offensive zone. I think there's something there with this guy. I think there's something there. And the fact that he's playing with Stützle and Batherson, and they're going to get the depth from the Leafs, the Leafs are still good even without Nylander, but I'm not nearly as worried about that second line matchup without Nylander there, because Tavares just hasn't had as good a season as he normally has. I don't mind Amadio, Stützle, Batherson as a cheap filler stack, that won't be owned whatsoever. If you want to put them in with your Edmontons or your Winnipeg power play stacks or something like that. I think there's something there with Amadio personally. At the very least, he's an upgrade from Tierney, and an upgrade from Tierney gets me interested in Stützle and Batherson. So that's what I'm interested in on the Ottawa side. No interest in Kachuk Norris. I just don't want to go into that matchup. I'd rather stack Stützle, Batherson, and Amadio. And I agree with you on the Leaf side. I wouldn't just run the top line out. What I would do is, like you said, double center. Josh Sack even, throw in 5 forwards and a Leafs defenseman, full top line, plus Spezza, plus Tavares, something like that. I think you can't just run the top line with Morgan Riley and think that you'll be different. So I'm kind of with you there. I do like, Toronto Jill stacks, Toronto Josh stacks, something along those lines. But honestly, I really do like that Ottawa second line as a cheap filler here tonight. On the blue line, I think it's kind of the same as we've normally said, not super high on Leafs defensemen. I don't mind Jake Muzzin here. Do you have anything else?
If you want to go down to Hull, just because, he does see some 5-on-5 time with the Leafs top line, but I don't want to play Riley. He's going to be over-owned tonight. His shot attempts have gone way down. His price isn't that good. So I don't know. I'm kind of off the Leafs defenseman. Nikita Zaitsev, 3,700 interests me a little bit. I wish he was a bit cheaper, but at that price, I think is okay. Contractual obligation to mention my son, Artem Zub. Min price, I think you can put him in. But other than that, I'm looking at defensemen elsewhere. You can put in Shabbat if you are going that second line too. So,
yeah, that's another thing to mention. Because of the power play correlation, you can use Shabbat with that second line. from Ottawa. Don't mind Jake Muzzin as a one-off either. In net, I don't want, like, Jack Campbell might be a decent play because the Sens do have those games where they pile up the shots but don't score, because there aren't a ton of great goal scorers on this team. So I don't really hate Campbell. Don't really hate Forsberg either. I think both goalies are kind of in play here.
Yeah, so 8,400 for the Leafs goalie is going to keep people off the Leafs goalie because they're going to be stacking Leafs. So
Yeah.
It's another way to get different is putting in Campbell with your stacks. I'm not a huge fan of paying up 8,400, but I think there is some merit, and you just kind of hope that it's like he gives up one goal on like 38 shots. He gets the bonus in the win. So I think it's a way to get a bit different. Normally, I won't recommend spending up, but I do agree with you. If you are using Leafs, I think Campbell does make sense. And then, Forsberg, Hogberg, whoever it is, like he's going to be under 7,000. I think there's some merit, especially if you're fading the Leafs. You want some supreme leverage on the field if like they stand on their head. Sure, not a priority. But I think, if you can in MME have a couple just because of the shot volume.
Forsberg, Hogberg reminded me of watching Titanic last week. Iceberg, right ahead. All right. We don't need me to do any more impressions. We need me to move to the next game. So let's do that. Winnipeg with a 2.6 implied goal total going into Montreal. The Habs have a 3.0 implied goal total. I think we're looking at more or less the same lineups from both sides as last game. Winnipeg went to a different lineup. Down the stretch, they went with Scheifele, Kopp, and Connor, and then Stastny, Ehlers, Dubois. That looks like it's going to be their top six to start this game. The interesting thing I found, like Montreal switched up their lines as well. I should mention Suzuki between Toffoli and Perry. Stahl takes Suzuki's spot on Suzuki's line. The one thing I want to mention is that Montreal is probably going to run Suzuki to Foley versus the third line. And then the Kotkaniemi Danault line versus Scheifele. That's the way it worked out a couple nights ago. That's the way it'll probably work out in this one. This game looks like kind of a mess to me almost. What do you see?
Yeah. I initially, before I realized Kopp was switched with Ehlers, I kind of had interest in the Dubois Stastny Kopp line as a filler, but they're flip-flopped, so that makes the prices kind of out of whack, and it's hard to fit them in with the Torontos, with the Edmontons. So I think, the way I would go with the Jets here is just power play stack, just because, like a broken record, we always talk about, Montreal takes a bunch of penalties. Their PK isn't very good. Jake Allen has been playing great, but they're still losing. So I think there's, you can go, if you want to use that top line, perfectly fine. I think Kopp makes it a bit more reasonable. If you want to put in Mason Appleton with them, on the top power play, I guess that's fine. Like, I don't know why Mason Appleton's on the top power play. I wish they just put Ehlers there or Kopp there or anyone but, Mason Appleton. So I think you can go to that top line. You can power play stack. That second line's okay, but it's just with Ehlers there, it makes it tough to fit in with the expensive guys. So on its own, like, it's fine, but I don't think you're going to be fitting the Torontos. You won't be fitting the Edmontons. So if you want to use them, sure, you just have to find a cheaper line than the Torontos and Edmontons to fit them in. On the Montreal side, I agree with you. Like, the line I would use is Perry, Suzuki, Toffoli. They're going to get the Lowry, Appleton, Perriot line, and that's just a mess defensively. So if I was going to go to a line in Montreal, it's probably that one. Duran, Stahl, Anderson, at least on face value, interests me. But if you want to use them in MME, I think they're a fine filler. It's just I'm not sure I want to go into Dubois, Stastny, Ehlers, which seems weird, but like those numbers together have been okay. This is really an MME game. Like Danault, Kotkaniemi, Tatar, like they're going to get Scheifele, and who's going to score for them? I know Kotkaniemi scored with them the last game, but how often can you rely on Tatar, Danault, Kotkaniemi to score 5-on-5? I don't know. So really, this game is MME. I like the Jets power play. I like the Suzuki line, but anything else is more MME for me.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about the Jets power play, and this is a small sample, so just watch for that, is over the last 3 weeks, Montreal's penalty kill time on ice has declined a lot. But remember, they've had they've had a lot of time off in the last 3 weeks because they had those suspended games. So like, I think it's only 6 or 7 games where they've been taking fewer penalties. It's just something to kind of watch for as we move forward. I'm probably going to be in more on the Suzuki Toffoli line. Once you get down to the third and fourth lines from Winnipeg, there just really isn't a lot to defend with. So I think Suzuki, Toffoli, and Perry probably makes a lot of sense, especially where Suzuki and Toffoli play the same power play unit. So you get a little bit of correlation there with those two. I'm just not in much on the Winnipeg side. The Scheifele line, just in an absolutely brutal matchup. And like you said, Stastny, Ehlers, Dubois, while I like that line, not great for power play correlation. And with Ehlers' price, it's just way more expensive. It's just a line now. It's not a filler line anymore. So you really have to watch yourself. So I'm probably out on Winnipeg in this game, at least for the forwards. For Montreal, I'm going to be in probably on the Suzuki Toffoli line because they're going to get some depth matchups here. On the blue line, like Jeff Petry's price has come down considerably from where it was earlier in the season. Now, that's obviously because he hasn't been producing like he has been. He was earlier in the season, but 5,600, nice price for him. Anybody else kind of jumping out at you here?
I mean, not really on the Montreal side. If you want to Kulak still min price, I think that's fine. Shea Weber, I don't know. Like, you can play him with that top line and hope he throws it back to like 2008 or something. But I don't know. He's still, his shot rates is what's worrying me. So, I mean, you can put him in. The price is okay, but I prefer Petry. And then on the Winnipeg side, I prefer Pionk as a one-off at 4,000 over Morrissey. Forbert 3,500 is okay, but other than that, I'm going to look elsewhere.
Yeah, but Connor Hellebuck is obviously one of our favorite. Yeah, okay. Connor Hellebuck, definitely one of our favorite goalies here tonight.
Oh, yeah. 7,200. Give me Hellebuck. He's playing great.
I will say he's probably going to be popular tonight because if I remember, he was like 18 to 20% or something in the last game in Montreal. So I imagine he'll probably be around that again tonight. Just one thing to watch out for. Today's show is sponsored by JockMKT. If you haven't heard, JockMKT has turned fantasy sports into a stock exchange. Forget waiting until the end of the game to make money. JockMKT allows you to buy and sell shares of players in real time for real money with guaranteed payouts for all shares at the end of each night. With daily markets for NBA, MLB, NHL, and PGA, you can make real money every hour, every minute, every second of any match or game. Use the pregame IPO to pick up shares of your favorite players, then buy, sell, or hold them during the game based on your analysis. Download the app to get started and use our exclusive Awesemo promo code Awesemo20 for a $20 bonus on your first deposit. This is an exclusive offer only for the Awesemo community, so make sure to take advantage of it today. That's Awesemo20 for a $20 bonus at our show sponsor, JockMKT. All right. Moving along to our next game, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning with a 3.1 implied goal total going into Nashville. The Preds have a 2.4 implied goal total. Big news here is Steven Stamkos is out. Jamel Smith is in. Last game, they ran point plot Stamkos as the top line. Stamkos got hurt in the third period, I believe. And then after that, I think they had 4 more even strength shifts and they had 4 different players on that line. So we don't know what the lines are going to be for Tampa Bay. And that, that's a little bit of a problem because it is an 8 p.m. Eastern start. It starts after the first 4 games. So not as many options to choose from if you have to scramble. But there is going to be interest on both sides here, Josh. So what do you like?
Yeah, I'm going to assume Tyler Johnson moves back up with Plot and Point just because he was there. So that's a safe assumption, but you got to pay attention to warmups. What I'm hoping is that the Gaudreau, Gord, Coleman line stick together because that line has been very good. Yanni Gord at 5,400. He's probably going to come in under-owned. If people are going to try to power play stack, I think, Gaudreau, Coleman might be a popular 2-man. So throw him in, throw Gordon there with him. I think that's the line, as long as they're together, that I would want to use from Tampa Bay. They're probably going to get what Nashville usually sends out the Hall line against the top comp, I think, which is just, I wish Stamkos was in because I would definitely want that top line. But Platt, Point, Johnson against that third line is, okay. Really, I just need to see lines before I can commit to something. Killorn, Sorelli, Joseph doesn't really interest me, but unless they may mix him up with, Johnson moving up. So we would have to see. So really, if the Gaudreau, Gord, Coleman lines together, I like using them. On the Nashville side, the total at 2.3 is really low, but I don't know. I kind of have interest in that second line. And I think they might be popular. Just, I don't know. Like, people just love using Jarnkrok, Granlund, Kunin. I don't know why. But it is their price is decent enough where they're a decent filler stack. With Stamkos out, they're going to avoid, I would imagine, the Gord, Coleman, Gaudreau matchup, hopefully. Really, Nashville is kind of tough to play. I think in MME, you can use that top line. You can use the second line. 1 to 3, I probably wouldn't. Where I would want to use Nashville tonight is UC Saros at his price. Other than that, MME makes sense for this game.
Yeah, it does. And I think both Nashville top 2 lines are in play. The reason I say that is Tampa Bay's penalty kill has just fallen off the map over the last month or so. I mean, top 10 by penalty kill minutes means most penalty kill minutes per game. And I think it's like 28th or 29th by expected goals against per 60 and like 30th by actual goals against. Like, just terrible. I don't know what's going on. I imagine part of that might have been the Ryan McDonagh injury. Maybe that kind of straightens itself out now that he's back. But not that we ever really want to pick the Nashville power play, but I think that's one path here tonight that you can definitely use against this Tampa Bay penalty kill is, just do a duo like, Johansson and Arvidsson or Granlund and Jarnkrok or something like that. You don't need to stack the full lines and then throw in Roman Josi as your blue liner. I just really don't have a ton of interest in this game. Like, because you don't know what the Tampa lines are going to be, and then you have to scramble at once for the games have already started. And this isn't a good matchup for Nashville. Like, Stamkos being out doesn't make it a good matchup for the Preds, like not defensively anyway, right? So just not a whole lot of interest for me in this game. Probably, if anything, like I'd be one-offing somebody like Palat or one-offing somebody like Point or one-offing somebody like Killorn or something like that. I'm probably not going to stack either side. On the blue lines here, Erik Turnak was the guy that's kind of jumped out to me. He returned in their last game. He had been out a couple weeks with injury, played over 22 minutes, and going back to before he was injured, that makes 4 straight games with at least 22 minutes. So I think Erik Turnak is probably my guy from this one.
Yeah, Turnak, McDonagh. McDonagh is getting up there a little bit, 4,400. He's kind of in no man's land. On the Pred side, Josi makes sense. If, I'm sure Jake will have 73% Josi tonight. Matthias Ekholm's price has come down to the point where you can use him again, 4,300. I think you can use him. So Josi, Ekholm, Hedman, if you're power play stacking, we just don't know what the lines are going to be. 7,300 for Hedman is a bit tough. I'd rather play Josi 7,100. So yeah, Turnak, McDonagh, even a little bit of Sergachev at 4,600. But I think Turnak is my favorite play on the Lightning.
Yeah, I agree with you there. In goal, either of these goalies sticking out to you? I know Saros down at 7,100, assuming he starts, is probably in play, especially with Stamkos out.
Yeah, 7,100 at home. Sign me up. If it's Rene, hope you have a late swap ready.
Yeah. Don't really want to get super stoked to play Rene here tonight. Before we move on, just want to give a shout out, Terrence Little. Welcome to Team Awesemo. I see you in chat. Nice to see you. Welcome here. We'll try to make things as comfortable or as uncomfortable as possible as things can get on this show from time to time. All right, let's move along to our next game. A redux from last night. Minnesota 2.9 implied goal total going to St. Louis. The Blues have a 2.6 implied goal total. I find this odd considering the Blues just put up 9 goals on them, but the Wild have the higher implied goal total. Minnesota changed up their lines during the game last night, obviously. They went to Eriksson, Ek, Greenway, Bonino, Zuccarello, Marcus Johansson, and Kaprizov, and then Hartman, Parise, Fiala. The matchups, I imagine, will be Ryan O'Reilly against that Zuccarello-Kaprizov duo because, like, you're right, he always goes up against the best offensive line from the other team. And that probably leaves the St. Louis third line against Hartman, Parise, Fiala. So that's a little bit of interest to me. Maybe you have something different based on that slaughter we saw last night.
Yeah, and it's a back-to-back. It's a five and a half total is weird. Like there was 10 goals in the game. Like Minnesota just kind of just was like whatever in the third period. But got to see the lines again because this is a back-to-back. They probably didn't have morning skate. We have to see if they go back. But the Ryan O'Reilly's going to get whoever Kaprizov line is on. I don't know. The Schwartz-Chen Tarasenko line is going to get ownership because they always get ownership. They're still at a price point where they're super cheap for them. Jaden Schwartz, 3,700, too cheap. Tarasenko, 6,200, maybe is about right, but Braden Shen's on the price as well. I like going back to the O'Reilly Perron, Sammy Blais line. You don't have to, play Sammy Blais. I know he had a great game yesterday, but I like the O'Reilly Perron duo. And then on the Minnesota side, you're right, Hartman. Who is it? Parise and Fiala. If they're going to get, Thomas Bozak, Sanford, or even Clifford, Barbashev, Kyrou, I think, you can take it. I used the Hartman line yesterday and it was disappointing. But I think you can go back to them tonight. I think they won't have much ownership on them back to back on the road. So I like them as a filler stack. You just got to make sure the lines are what they are. And then I really want to be underweight on this game, especially in 1-3 lineups. In MME, St. Louis one makes sense. I just worry about their ownership coming off a big game. Not many people like playing O'Reilly Perron, so I can see myself going back to them. But really, this game is MME for me.
Yeah, I just want to say that we did get some ownership runs, so we have a few lines out. Looks like ownership in check for St. Louis, but like you said, coming off that monster game last night, still at reasonable prices. I think they'll come up a bit from the 4 to 5% that we have right now. I'll just say the one line I really like is that Hartman Fiala Parise line. I love that matchup. I think it makes a lot of sense, especially as a low owned filler to put in with your expensive lines elsewhere. So Josh already said everything that needed to be said about St. Louis. So I will say that my favorite play out of this game is that Hartman Fiala Parise line for the Wild. On the blue line, one thing I did notice is Torrey Krug's minutes have been going down pretty consistently since Colton Parayko got back. I guess last night is a little bit different, but it's back to back games playing around 19 minutes, and I think he's been under 21 minutes in 4 straight games. So that's a bit of a concern for Krug. What do you like on the blue line?
I don't really like much. If you're going to use Hartman, Fiala, Parise, like the power play correlation isn't there, so you can use any of your 4 guys. Like Dumba's under 4,000. I think he's the guy I would go to. Spurgeon at 5,000 is okay, but I'd rather play Dumba for under 4,000 on the St. Louis side. Krug, I guess, makes sense if you're using the power play, but I'd look elsewhere. Vinny Dunn, 3,700 is okay. Parayko, I want to wait a little bit to make sure, he's healthy. I know his minutes are there, but he doesn't look all the way back yet. So really, this is, Dumba is the only real play that I see in this game on the blue line. Yeah,
I agree with you. I like Dumba out of this matchup. I don't like either goalie here, so I don't like the prices, don't like the matchup.
Yeah, me either. I mean, Billy Husso, maybe the worst goalie in the NHL. I don't know. Cam Talbot, I wish he was cheaper. If he was like 7,200, 7,300, I'd have some interest going back to a Wild goaltender here coming off, the Blues scoring 9. But at his price, I'm going to pass.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Before we go any further, we usually have free stuff up on the site, and today is no different. So head on over to awesemo.com, check out our free stuff. We have NHL and NBA player projections for free on the site today. We have MLB player rankings and we have MMA ownership projections up on the site. So head on over to awesemo.com if you want to see what we have going on for free, and check out awesemo.com/promos to see what promos we have going on. Because we usually have some stuff going on at the site. All right, we got about 5 minutes left, and we've got about 2 games to get through. This next one is really interesting for a number of reasons. So Edmonton with a 3.1 implied goal total going into Calgary. The Flames have a 2.9 implied goal total. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins looks like he's out for Edmonton. Edmonton going back to the stacked top line. Draisaitl, McDavid, Puljujarvi. Looks like Jacob Markstrom is not going to be starting for Calgary. Looks like it's going to be big save Dave Riddick. And the Flames went to have a new top line. They have Johnny Gaudreau, Elias Lindholm, and Matt Tkachuk skating together. So what line are we playing? Are we playing Edmonton or are we playing Calgary?
I can't believe it. They finally broke up Gaudreau and Monahan. Like, I feel like I need to go play the lottery now. Okay, so obviously, the Edmonton Oilers top line is always in play. That Lindholm Tkachuk Gaudreau line is interesting. I wish they weren't getting the McDavid matchup. I'm going to save that for another day. Like, that line is going to interest me in the future, just not going into McDavid. So obviously the Edmonton top line makes sense. Edmonton power play with big save Dave in there makes sense. But with Nugent Hopkins out, right, this Monahan, Mangiapane, Dubé line is going to get nobody. Like, there's nobody on Edmonton that scares me defensively after that top line. Like, they're going to get Turris, Cahoon, Yamamoto. They're going to get Jujhar Khaira, Archibald Shore. Like, those lines are just bad. So I honestly think, Mangiapane, Monahan, Dubé makes a lot of sense tonight as a filler. They're cheap. They're 10-9 as a full line. Their power play correlation isn't great, but, they're getting defensive lines that are just bad. After McDavid, Draisaitl, Puljujarvi, there's nothing there that scares me. They're not going to get the Nurse Barry pairing. They're going to get, Cowboy Chris Russell and Larson, who are good at blocking shots, but they're not very good defensively, or Caleb Jones and Ethan Bear. So I think Calgary, too, is one of my favorite filler lines of the night. If you want to go to that third line, two-man Lucic and Backlund, I think that also makes a little bit of sense. So in this game, Edmonton won Edmonton power play, and I really like Calgary, too, and I'm saving that Calgary one line for a better matchup.
I know what you're saying about that Calgary one and a better matchup, and you're right. Edmonton one usually runs the play, but the one thing I'll say about Edmonton one is they don't mind trading chances. That's the one thing that they do well, well enough for the opposition, is that they do trade chances. So I don't hate Calgary one here tonight. I just worry that people might be a little bit gung-ho on them just because, people will love to play that Calgary top line. And in fact, we have them coming in as our 5th highest owned line. So that's probably what's going to keep me off Calgary one here tonight. Yeah, I do like Edmonton here. Matchup doesn't concern me. Big save Dave over Markstrom. Yeah, I'll take that any day of the week. So do like Edmonton one. Reminder that with RNH out, Kyler Yamamoto power play one. So he's the guy that you might want to fill in instead of Chase on. That's about it for me out of this game. There's not a whole lot. Like, I'm not using either goalie in there. I don't think I'm using any defenseman.
Yeah, I mean, if you're correlating Edmonton power play, I guess Barry makes sense. But other than that, if you want to punt like Adam Larson, he's not even in a puntable range, like 3,800. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I want to say Chris Russell's puntable, but like, man, it feels bad locking in Chris Russell into your lineup. So
if he was like 2,700, yeah, 3,300. I think I'd rather play Turnak at 3,200.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, we got a couple minutes. Let's get to this last game. And it's a game we saw last night. We have the Los Angeles Kings with a 2.6 implied goal total. They're in San Jose. The Sharks have a 3.0 implied goal total. Probably going to be Devin Dubnyk versus Jonathan Quick. And the thing to note is Erik Karlsson jumped to the Meyer and Hurdle power play in the third period last night. So they did switch up power play defensemen. What do you like here, Josh?
Yeah, it's going to be the same analysis kind of as it was yesterday. I like that top line in MME for the Sharks. The Kopitar matchup isn't what it was. Jonathan Quick is a downgrade from Peterson. I don't know if I get to them in 1 to 3 just because, it is still Kopitar. I also like the Kopitar line in MME. But really, Sharks 2 is my favorite play here. Hurdle, Meyer, Balsers. They're going to get depth of the Kings. With the lines the way they are, the defense isn't as good in the depth. If you want to go to Carter Athanasiou as well, I guess that's fine. I'm not as high on Carter yesterday or today as it was in slates past, but if you want to go back to Carter and Athanasiou, the price is there. I think that's fine. On the blue line, Burns had the big game, but at 6,000, I still don't want to play him. I think I'd, use Carlson for the $1,700 savings. I like Doughty, but 5,700 is pricey. I do like Sean Walker, 3,900.
Yeah, Burns got lucky with his 3 assists. Definitely, I got lucky playing him at that price. Not going back there again.
Oh, Dubnyk just got traded to the Avs. The chat is telling me.
Okay, all right. So looks like Dubnyk won't be starting then. Probably going back to old party Marty Jones. Do like San Jose too. 65.8% expected goal share in their minutes together. They've just been absolutely crushing. So I will say I'm on Sharks too. Don't really love anything else out of this game. All right, we're going to wrap it up here, Josh. I'm going to ask you for your hat trick pick here in a second. I'm going to say my hat trick pick here for tonight, Andrei Svechnikov.
All right, I'm going to say John Tavares.
Johnny T. All right. Would be nice to see him kind of break out and do something, reward the people that have been playing him all season. All right, that'll do it for us here today. We're going to be off tomorrow, back on Monday. For producer Tyler, for Joshua Harris, this is Michael Clifford, aka Slim Cliffy, saying good luck tonight, everyone.